Hello everyone, this is Mr. Crozier. I'm going to do problems 2 and 9 with the simplex method. And again, here's our plan over here. And I'm going to be following these steps. And here's my first optimization and my two constraints. So let me go ahead and write these out. And we'd have a 1, 1, 1, slack variable 0 and 4. And the second equation, 1, negative 1, nothing, 1, 1. And the equation here, if I put these over to the other side, it would be a negative 1, negative 3, 0, 0, 0. So the first two equations are pretty straightforward. This other one needs to be turned into negative x minus or plus a negative 3x squared plus the z is equal to 0. And that shows up here. Alright, we're going to pivot. That means find the correct row by the most negative, and that's here. So we're looking at this column. And the least positive ratio means we take this and it's 4 divided by 1, because it's 4 divided by 1 in the column is 4, and 1 divided by negative 1 here. And the least positive is this one. So this is our pivot row, pivot column. So this is the value, meaning we're going to figure out what x2 is. Alright, we're going to get the pivot to 1. Well, it's already 1. If it was anything else, we'd have to divide or multiply, but it is 1. So now we're going to zero out this column, and let's get rid of this. So I multiply everything by 1 and move it down. 1 times 1 is 1, add that is 2. 1 times 1 is 1, add that here is 0. And 1 times 1 is 1, add that here is 1. 1 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So now this column is zeroed out. Now let's zero out the bottom one. Let's times it by 3 and move it down. 1 times 3 is 3, add here is 2. This is 0. 1 times 3 is 3, add here is 3. I'm going to scratch it out. 0 times this is 0. Here, 4 times 3 is 12. Add it to here is 12. So now with column is zeroed out. I've pivoted, so I know this answer. That pivot means it comes down here and goes here. And repeat till there's no negatives. Well, there's no negatives here. So we're done. So this is our maximum solution. So x2 is defined as 4. The maximum is defined at 12, and x1 is not defined. It is 0, 4, 12. These are the variables that have been defined. If there's no x1 over here, it's 0. Alright, let's go on to number 9. Again, and if there had been a negative here, I would repeat this process again. But now on here, we set this up, and it's 1, 4, 1, 0, 8, 1, 1, 0, 1, 12, and negative 1, negative 2, 0, 0, 0. Alright, most negative, number 9, right here. So I pivot with this row. Now the ratio 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 1 is 12, meaning this is the lowest, meaning I'm pivoting here, meaning I'm found x2. So we're going to solve for x2. We need to get the pivot row to 1 though. So this is a 4. So we're going to divide everything in this row by 4. Changes this to 1. Change this to 1/4. Still 0. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So now we have the pivot row as 1. Now why do we need the pivot row 1? So we can zero out the columns. Let's zero out this bottom one. Negative 1 down. Negative 1 times this is a negative 3/4 times 1. 1 times negative 1/4 times negative 1 is negative 1/4. Added here is a negative 3/4. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Add here is 0. Negative 1/4 here. 0 there. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Add 2 here is 0. Zero out this. times it by -2 and bring it down. This time this is a -1/2. Add on to this would be a -1.5. I'm going to make it -3/2. Now again, you're going to want to be careful with the values here. This was 1/4 times -2 is a -1/2 times that one is a negative. Wait, what was that to begin with? Number 9 was a -1, so it's -3/2. Multiply here. Oh wait, we're going to multiply this by a +2 because we need a 1 times a +2 makes us a 0. And if I multiply this, that's a +1/2, so that's a -1/2 here. I know the fractions get tough. 1/4 times here, that's a 1/2. Added here is a 1/2. 0 and a 4. So now we're done here. So now the question is, are we done? We have this zeroed out, but the question is no, we're not done because we have negative. So now we have to work with this row. All right, in this row, where is the pivot at? 2 divided by 1/4 is 8, and 10 divided by 3/4, let's see here, that'd be 10 times 4/3, that would be 40/3, that would be over 8, so this is the most negative, so we're pivoting here, and you see what we're doing here? We're pivoting again with this row, so now we have to change this to x1. So now this has been changed. Now we're solving x1 again. Our pivot's changed. It used to, and that's why it's called pivot, because we're moving back and forth. We solved for x2, but now we're saying, well, that's not good enough. So we're going to solve for this one again, but it's going to be x1. All right. So get pivot to 1. So we need this to be 1. Let's multiply everything by 4 again. If I multiply this by 4, it's 1. Multiply that by 4. Multiply that by 4. Multiply that by 4. Multiply this by 4. Whenever you can, save yourself some erasing. I just changed that 2 into an 8. So now that I've done that, I can zero out the rest of them. So let's zero out this. A -3/4, bring it down. 1 times a -3/4 is -3/4. Added on here is 0. 4 times -3/4 is -3. Bring it down. 1 times -3/4 is -3/4. Bring it down. It's going to be a -1. And 0 times this is 0, bring it down is still stays the same. 8 times -3/4. To do the math, it's a -3/4 times 8, -24/4, -6. Bring it down, and it's 4. You're going to get really good at your fractions. All right, now what we need to do is zero out this one. Well, what do I need to do there? I need to multiply it by a 1/2 and bring it down. 1 times a 1/2 is 1/2. Add here is 0. 4 times a 1/2 is 2. 2. Sometimes I get tired of doing that, so I just do it like that. 1 times a 1/2 is a 1/2 plus a 1/2 is a whole. 0 is 0. A 1/2 times 8 times a 1/2 is 4. Add on to that is 8. I know it's a lot of work. Column zeroed out, and what have we done? There are no negatives, so we are done. x1 is 8. x2 is never been defined. It was defined, but then it went away because it got pivoted out, so it is x2 is 0 and z is 8. You can check it by graphing it, but those are the steps. Sometimes you get x1. Had this been down here, we'd have an x2 and an x1, but it was pivoted from there first then there, and it's gone. Those are the solutions. Alright, I hope this helps with this method. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work. Write a big chart. Do some erasing, some crossing off. Try and keep it all in one chart so you have it all worked out. If your chart gets too messy, rewrite it. But most of the time I find I can do it in one chart.